You can probably tell from some of my, at least the intro on our email today, that there was, that this week, like for you as well, kind of hit hard with the whole Charlie Kirk thing. And yet at the same time, we also recognize today is 9/11. And I also recognize there are people in this room that weren't born before then. So, in the same manner, there are many of us who did experience that, and I wanted you to hear very quickly from Carole Cliff about her experience on 9/11. Come on, Carole, tell us about it. 3.5, or you're bartering already.
Our song says entered in, and I entered into his presence for God's protection and provision, because Jim and I were stranded in Egypt the morning of. And it was, we just spent 9 days in Israel where Jesus walked, and so encouraged and so inspired. And then we took the extension. By the way, this was my honeymoon. That time, so anyway, he got the extension. So we 25 pastors and their wives. And so the morning of 9/11, we were checked out of the hotel, and our suitcases and our Bibles were on a cart to go to the Cairo airport. And we had one last tour, and that was the pyramids. We came back, and everybody was in the lobby, and we saw the second plane come in, and it was all in Arabic, so we just thought it's a movie, but it wasn't. And everybody was screaming, and there was just chaos everywhere. And then a lot of people were just saying, oh, free Coca-Cola for the Americans and free taxi revenue, and all of that stuff was going on. Anyway, we were checked out of the hotel, no room in the inn. So we were sequestered. The company called the American Embassy, and they were not at our disposal at all. We're in his hands. And so they took us on a bus, and we went to another hotel that they were making a movie, and there were more Americans. And, we were checked out all over the place, and we really craved fellowship. And so 5 women, I being one of them with my mouth, and the other women, right? We went to the manager of the hotel and asked, is there a place that we could meet? Because fellowship is so important. And I called it the Divine Disco, because that's where we shared verses. Psalms 37:14, I remember, he'll come out of you, and he will deliver you from trouble. And Psalms 46, he'll deliver you out of trouble. And we shared a lot of those verses back and forth. But this was what I wanted to share with you. You never know the impact of a song. We were singing back and forth, Amazing Grace. And our Muslim tour guide, he worked for Wings Tour Company. I always thought, we'll get home on a wing and a prayer somehow. But he came in, and he said, could you pray for my wife? She's going to have a baby on September 12th. Talk about global compassion. We're watching our people be killed, and we're praying for this Muslim baby. You can only do that with God in your heart and compassion. So we did. And he came back on the 13th and said to us, we didn't have a name for our baby girl, but we named her Grace. You never know the impact of a song and how it's going to reach people. So we finally were taken again to Israel, and where we felt safe. And I'm going to tell this really fast, okay? So in Israel, we were told it would take 10 days to get back to the States. And we put our heads on the pillow, and in 4 hours we got the phone call, New York is open, curlers in the hair, no makeup, the whole bit, 4:30 in the morning, let's go. There we are on the bus going down. And I heard the song, Jerusalem. And my stepdad, who was choir director, used to sing that a lot. And my heart was just filled with the fact that we had just been where the Savior was, and he was going to take us, protect us. And we're on this plane, and the pilot comes on, and this is around Canada, and we had to keep going round and round, and he said, New York closed again. And I was like, and Jim said, well, honey, we're closer to God. So, anyway, we got to the hotel and everything and saw the smoke and whatever. And it came across the screen, I can make this really fast, and Jim used to be a fire captain, and he said, I'm going to volunteer. That was it. I was going to be a widow, like that. So anyway, I went in the bathroom, I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed. And you know what? Within a half an hour, it came across the screen again. The subways are closed, and more volunteers needed, thank God. So then finally we got home. The last part of this story is I was teaching at the time, and the kids had put red, white, and blue cups in the fence of the school with the American flag. And when I parked in the driveway and I saw that, I got down on the ground and I said, I'm glad to be on American soil. And from that point on, some of you know the McMillans, Penny McMillan and I did Salute to America programs throughout our school district. And God did deliver us. You know, and the situation that happened yesterday and ever, you know, all I can remember, and some of you know that I keep saying this, God is large and in charge. And if I had a tattoo, I would put it on there. He's large and in